Welcome to the story of the 2025 school year at THMH. This video is an overview of the influences and moments of this past school year. First, we want to thank God for blessing us with a great school year. We also want to thank each one of you for your involvement in the school. Second, we thank Dr. B for her commitment to Terry Hill over many years. She has been a large blessing in many students' lives. She has been here since the school started in 1985. This is her last year here, and to commemorate that, we are dedicating this video and the yearbook to her. After teaching for 40 years, I'm sure she has gained much wisdom and insight. Let's hear from her.
Can you pinpoint some of the most significant shifts that took place during your time here?
During my time here, the shifts, one of them was the size of the enrollment. So enrollment has really increased. The very first year, there were 31 students, and that's smaller than the sophomore class is this year. So that was a big shift, learning to adjust to more students around here, learning to have students come in and increase the class size. When I first had a class of 25, it seemed overwhelming because there were so many. And then later it was a class of 30 and 32. So class size is one thing that really changed. Another thing that really changed is that the first years that I was teaching, there were students, a few of them had a job, worked basically Friday evenings and Saturdays. And now students work almost every night of the week. And so that's a major shift. So needing more money because they're doing more things, and some of them very good things, but that's a shift in I think our culture, not just the students here, but Lancaster County in general. It's a shift. Those are two things. One particularly the school, and one more the culture, I think has changed.
So how has teaching strengthened your faith?
It takes some trust in God to be a teacher. There's always the question of, am I doing what I ought to be doing for the students? Am I preparing them for whatever God is calling them to? You don't know what God's calling you to most times in high school. You don't know that yet. That becomes more evident as you move on. And so one of the questions that I always have dealt with is, how do I prepare students for something that they don't even know that they're going to do? And I don't know what they're going to do. So how do I do that? A very practical thing that is strengthening my faith is the daily chapels. Those are not just for the students. Faculty benefits from those too. And faculty devotions in the morning, and then chapel right after that is something that really does strengthen my faith. I've learned a lot from the chapels. And so it's that constant input that I think I will miss after I'm not here. I don't have that coming in all the time. How else has it strengthened my faith? There have been times when I really questioned if I was doing what I should be doing. Am I really supposed to be here? Am I really supposed to be teaching here? And there were questions. There were times that questioned, and I learned that what I needed to do was just follow God one day at a time. And if he wanted me somewhere else, he would take me somewhere else. But for right now, this is where I am.
So what are some ways that teaching has changed your life?
I've learned to know a lot of people. I've watched families come in and all the children in the family go through the school, graduate, and then the next generation comes, and I'm teaching the next generation. And so I've learned to know a lot of people, and I have no idea how many students have gone through here, how many students I've had. I've never kept track of anything like that. And so I don't really know. But that has changed my life in knowing a lot more people. I've continued my education, so that has changed who I am with the things that I've learned in the classes that I've taken. I've learned to be much more careful with my own grammar because there's nothing like being an English teacher and having a student correct you. I've learned to be much more careful. There have been a lot of changes. I mean, a lot of things that have changed me and who I am.
So what did the transformation look like from leaving school, never wanting to return in 8th grade, to a full career of teaching and a doctorate's degree?
That's a long story. It was at the end of 8th grade, the school that I was attending did not have anything beyond that. I was not old enough to quit school, so my parents bought a correspondence course for me. And they told me that I was going to be sitting in school doing it in the back of the 7th and 8th grade classroom for my 9th and 10th grade until I was old enough to be out of school. There wasn't too much homeschooling at that point. It wasn't too accepted by the public school system. So I was going to be sitting in the back of the 7th and 8th grade classroom doing my high school work. And my parents told me that I was not permitted to get a driver's license or a job until I finish it. And I did not want to wait to get my driver's license. So I started working on it pretty hard. I worked on it in the summer. I worked on it in the evenings. I worked on it when I was in school. And I finished it 2 days after my 16th birthday. I'm done. I finished my high school course. I am done. I am never stepping inside a school again. That's it. And that lasted for about 3 years. And then one of my friends convinced me to go to Rosedale with her. And I told her, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't like school. I don't want to go. And she finally convinced me to go. And I went for 6 weeks and decided that school wasn't so bad after all. And the next year I went back for another 6 weeks. And the year after that, I went back for the whole year from September through May and graduated from there. And the last year that I was there, last year that I was at Rosedale, one of my friends there was from Delaware. And she said, our school's looking for a 4th grade teacher. Could I give the board your name? And I said, no, I don't like school. And I was not going to do this. But it got me started thinking and deciding that, maybe that is what I want to do. But I don't want to teach elementary. I just don't want elementary. I want high school. I don't want to be teaching math. I don't want to be teaching science. I would turn out people who hated math and just simply weren't interested in science. I want to teach what I like, what I enjoy. But to do that, I felt like I needed more education, more training. So I talked to my parents about it. I was already living in Virginia at the time. And one time when I was home, I talked to my parents about it and said, I'm thinking that maybe what I would like to do is teach. And my mom said, I knew you were going to say that sometime. She said that when I was little and played with my dolls, they were never babies. They were always sitting on a bench. They were sitting at a school desk. They were sitting on chairs. They were somewhere, and I was teaching them from the time I started the nursery Sunday school class on. I would come home and teach my stuffed animals and my dolls whatever I had learned in class. And she said, I knew someday you would come and say you wanted to be a teacher. She had never mentioned it to me before until I came and said, I think that's what I want to do. So they encouraged me to go ahead and get the training that I felt that I needed. And I was in my senior year of college for my bachelor's degree. I was home. No, I was not home for Christmas break. It was before Christmas break that I was home, and I was somewhere, and someone approached me and said, there's a new school starting, and would I be interested in teaching? And I just kind of passed it off as probably not there. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know much about it. But over my Christmas break, in my senior year, over my Christmas break, they had contacted me just before Christmas and asked if I could come for an interview. And it was to this building. It was before the school had started, and I drove in here. Everything was dark, but one person, it was the daughter of the board chairman, met me at the door, brought me in, and told the board that I was there, and I went for the interview. And so I would not have imagined at that point that I would be here for 40 years. I just wouldn't have imagined that. Maybe 5, but that probably would have been my max. And there was a time after about 10, 12 years, maybe somewhere in there, 12, 15 years, that I got kind of restless and was ready to go somewhere else. I had enough of this. And I had actually interviewed at another school, and the job was mine if I wanted it. But I just did not feel a peace about going there, and finally decided to tell them that I don't have any reason to say no, except that I just don't have a peace about doing it. And so I stayed here, and that kind of ended the restlessness. And it wasn't long. It was only a couple of years later that I said, I'm here till I retire. I'm just here. Unless God speaks to me pretty clearly, I'm here until I retire. So it ended up being 40 years.
Here at THMH, we value leadership and responsibility. Some way we implement these values is by electing senior executives and STUCO members. Senior exec's main responsibility involves planning senior-related things like grad and sub-sales. Some of STUCO's responsibilities include class-related things and socials. STUCO's main responsibility is planning and executing Barbecue Bash.
Barbecue Bash is our annual fundraiser. During the fundraiser, students are assigned in groups to perform certain tasks. Some students are designated to grill the chicken. The grillers load, spice, and grill racks of chicken. After it is grilled, the chicken is unloaded and placed in ice chests to be moved to the school. When it arrives, it is bagged by another group of students. Some collect the parts of the meal and assemble them. After the meals are assembled, they are closed and prepared for pickup. As the customers come through the line, students finalize the customer's package. The final step of the process is to give the customer their tailored package and sometimes help them load it. This year, we sold 2,740 meals in total. If you stack each meal directly upon one another, the stack will be slightly taller than the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri.
Chapel is a time when students come together in this lovely room and listen to spiritual input and sing songs. Sometimes we have ministers from the local congregations come here, and male faculty give chapels, and seniors will give a chapel once in their lifetime.
Here at Terry Hill, we focus on academics. This focus comes to life in the many class options offered to students. Over the span of 4 years, students will have the option to take over 50 different classes. These classes include the required classes such as math, English, and science, but also elective classes such as advanced math, Bible study, and woodshop.
Hi, I'm Mr. Gaiman, and I'm a math teacher here at Terry Hill. I've been a math teacher for 31 years this year, and I teach 4 math classes: Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and Pre-Calculus. And one of the things I really like about teaching pre-calculus especially is that students are far enough along in their understanding of mathematics that they can begin to see the bigger picture of math and begin to see the types of things that they can do with the math that they've been learning all of the previous years. And so just to be able to see the understanding develop and grow and to see the big picture is one of the things I enjoy the most about teaching pre-calculus. I really enjoy teaching at Terry Hill. Obviously, I've been here for 31 years, so we have lots of good students, lots of students who are diligent students and students who want to do well and students who care about learning and care about their Christian lives, and it's just a great place to be a part of all that.
Hi, I'm Dan Rutt, and I'm the school administrator, and I teach 2 Bible classes. I teach Bible doctrine with the juniors, and I also get to teach practical Christian living to the seniors. I like teaching practical Christian living because it allows us to take the principles of Scripture and make practical applications to the lives of the seniors as they think about what's going to happen very soon after graduation.
My name is Lyle Musser. I teach the science classes here at Terry Hill: physical science, biology, ag science, chemistry, physics. And one of the things I enjoy about Terry Hill and the science classes, I especially like the math part of science, when you can take specific things from higher math like chemistry and physics, and you can explain it and get it down in detail and show it in numbers.
Last of all, I want to thank everyone who helped make this year possible at Terry Hill.